Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about a program that is being instituted in the city of New York. It started out as a pilot program and it is now since expanded, and this program is put in place to supposedly deal with the rise in retail theft. Now, we all know the retail theft rise is absolutely real. In fact, I am fond of showing you this chart that goes up to 2022 that demonstrates that retail theft is up 77% since the Black Lives Matter riots, but in reality, it's actually up 97% because 2023 was actually worse than 2022, and this surveillance program is supposed to be able to deal with that. But the problem with this program is that it absolutely does not in any way, shape, or form address the issue in any meaningful way. Now I'm going to explain this to you, but before I do, I want to thank everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And remind you that this show is available in podcast form. Link to those in the description.
New efforts announced today in hopes of curbing retail thefts in New York City.
Under a new pilot program, businesses will be able to share real-time camera feeds directly with the NYPD. The hope is to deter thieves, but when a crime does happen, it will also make it easier for police to track down the suspect.
So right off the top of this local news segment, they give you the pitch for this program. Essentially, what's going to happen is that certain stores are going to be able to opt in to sharing live surveillance video with their local NYPD precinct, and this is supposedly going to deter criminals from committing all this different various retail theft. However, there is an admission in all of these articles and all of these segments that will cut to the heart of this issue, that will tell you that it absolutely in no way, shape, or form will work in any way in reducing retail theft. And it should be obvious, but let me explain it to you. First and foremost, the NYPD is not going to have somebody live monitoring all this footage, and they're not going to be able to spring into action in order to stop retail thieves. Again, that is just not a reality that's going to happen.
The hope is to deter thieves, but when a crime does happen, it will also make it easier for police to track down the suspect.
But even more crucially, what they said right there about this being a deterrent is clearly and obviously not going to work as a deterrent. And the reason we know that is because these stores already have surveillance cameras. Sure, they don't live connect to the NYPD precinct, but in reality, that doesn't matter in any way, because if you turn over the footage to the NYPD precinct, because they're not going to be watching it in real time in the first place, it is the same thing. What we learned is that cameras don't deter crime, or most crimes, and they definitely don't deter retail theft, because we have a bunch of different various videos of people committing this retail theft in these various stores. The only way to deal with the high uptick in retail theft in the city of New York is to actually arrest and hold repeat offenders accountable. Recently, it was revealed that now around 500 retail thieves are responsible for a third of the retail theft arrests, which is a lot. It's over 7,600 arrests.
Now, the mayor says the same 500 or so people were arrested 7,600 times last year, and that accounted for about 30% of the shoplifting in the city.
And we have significantly more incidents because, remember, a bunch of these different retail theft incidents do not result in arrest. So we're at about a third of the total number of reported instances actually resulting in arrest of the suspect. And the reason why these 500 people are allowed to account for 7,600 plus arrests is because they keep getting released due to bail reform. They are guaranteed a same-day automatic release, and that guaranteed automatic release does not go away when you commit the same crime over and over again. And considering most of these retail theft incidents are not violent instances, they're instances where they just steal the property and they end up leaving the store, they're not covered under any kind of enforcement or any kind of minor tweak that gives the possibility of holding somebody even with New York State bail reform. So right now, they're making this change. They're instituting this mass surveillance program where the NYPD can look in live at all these different various stores, and guess what? It's not going to do anything.
The more quickly they're spotted, the more likely they are to be arrested and prosecuted, and the less likely they are to try it again.
Yeah, the main problem with what this woman just said right there about how, oh, the more quickly they are spotted, the more quickly they're identified, the more quickly they are to be arrested, the more quickly they'll be prosecuted, and that will deter them from doing it again, is that none of that is true. We know these repeat thieves, we arrest them over and over again. Again, 500 people, 7,600 arrests, and guess guess what? A bunch of these people will get out same day automatically and get rearrested that same day and then get released again. So the police know this. Everyone knows this in the city of New York, but this is a fun way for Eric Adams to spend money on this surveillance program, to act like he's doing something along with Governor Kathy Hochul without actually addressing the problem in any meaningful way. And the thing is, Eric Adams knows this. He'll give press conferences, he'll give speeches, he'll explain that the issue is these people keep getting rearrested and we need to be able to deal with them. But the fact of the matter is, until the law changes, nothing about this is going to change. And I do believe it's possible for the law to change. Remember, we were talking about squatting incidents in the city of New York. New York was among the worst in terms of squatting incidents. And depending on how you interpret their change, where they don't grant any tenants' rights to squatters, you're in a situation where maybe they instituted with that one sentence change in the New York State Tenant Code the most meaningful reform against squatters across the country. An even stronger reform than in the state of Florida, again, depending on how it's interpreted. So you can make change, but the fact of the matter is that there is no will to do so. So instead, we get these stupid programs that cost a ton of money that definitely 100% do not address the issue, but also, in addition to that, end up being an invasion of privacy and just grant the NYPD, who, by the way, all these woke people were so worried about, more intrusive surveillance into your day-to-day life.
With us having the link to the NYPD is they have to actually think twice to do this.
Mushtari Hardware here on 125th Street has had that link from its cameras directly to the NYPD for the last couple of weeks now. And in that time, it's stopped locking up some of the items most popular with shoplifters, like cleaning supplies.
So this guy has it, and he said in response to the fact that he has this program, he felt comfortable enough to unlock the merchandise. But again, they keep repeating the same flaw in this program over and over, and it's clear and obvious to anybody who's watching this, to anybody who has any kind of knowledge of this particular problem. Well, first of all, let's just point out that you're not going to be able to hook up every single store to this NYPD surveillance program. So the fact is, it is not going to work in that regard because it's impossible. There are only so many officers. We have other crimes that we want to address.
Knowing that the NYPD can see and identify anyone with sticky fingers quickly and grab them, because they're usually repeat offenders.
But number two, and this is absolutely crucial, they just said that most of the people that are stealing from this guy's store, from all these different stores, are repeat offenders. And since this does nothing, absolutely nothing, to ensure consequences for repeat offenders, we're in a situation where, guess what? They're just going to have nicer video of these repeat offenders stealing from all these different stores. Because until you change bail reform, you're not going to be able to solve this.
What I'm hoping is that, number one, we can show the impact of this on not just the business owners, but the whole neighborhood, but also, too, as a deterrent, because now you have evidence that this is not a crime of need. This is a crime of opportunity.
So I just want to say this to everybody out there. I don't give a damn if this is a crime of need or if it's a crime of opportunity. First of all, I mock the idea that people are stealing power drills in order to feed their starving family. I know that they're going to go try to sell that for money or whatever, but the fact of the matter is, the reason this is happening at such an alarming clip as compared to previous recessions, as compared to previous harsh times that had greater impact on these different various communities, is because the laws changed in 2020 and in and around that time, and they didn't change during the Great Recession. But secondly, one of the reasons why deterrence is seen to be an ineffective mechanism in the criminal justice system is because deterrence requires three components. It requires swiftness in punishment, which is a quick response. Now, they're trying to say, at least in this particular case, that this will speed up the NYPD response, so they're covered in that category if we give them a little bit of grace in that regard, although I don't believe that either, if I'm being 100% real. There's also the certainty that you're going to be caught, and there's the severity of the punishment. Now, you might have the swiftness because the NYPD theoretically is watching these cameras 24/7. They're ready to leap out of the police precinct into these stores and arrest these people before they even clear the register. Then you have the certainty. You're like, oh, the cameras will definitely lead them to be captured, which I guess if we're being insanely generous, we can grant them, even though a bunch of different surveillance cameras have captured a bunch of different retail thefts that have resulted in no arrests. So that's nonsense right there. Let me be clear clear about that, but I'll grant it to them out of generosity. But then you need the severity of the punishment. And what is the severity of the punishment in the city of New York? What is the severity of punishment according to bail reform? You don't even spend a night in jail. You don't even have to put up any money for bond. You essentially get a same-day automatic release, and hell, maybe they'll even give you a Metro card. I know we don't do Metro cards in New York City anymore. We're phasing them out, and say, hey, go to the store and steal again, and we'll see you later. We'll have a hot meal ready for you if you get caught, and if you don't get caught, enjoy the profits of your ill-gotten gains. There is absolutely no severity of the punishment. The punishment is non-existent. You don't have 500 people responsible for 7,600 arrests without them being released on the overwhelming majority of those arrests. It's absurd in every way. It's ridiculous, and yet they keep trying to push all these different various surveillance programs as if they're going to work. I mean, we've talked about this on this channel before. One of the best ways to stop crime or deter crime in the city of New York is to arrest people for fare evasion, jumping the turnstiles at the subway. We learned this in the 1980s, that a bunch of the people that go on to violate bigger laws in New York City are not concerned about paying for the fare, so you arrest them for jumping the turnstiles, you bring the processing to the station, you see if they pop for warrants, and if they pop for warrants, you lock them up for that warrant. And what we found out is that reduced subway crime dramatically. In the 80s, when Bratton instituted this, it was something like 40%. It also overwhelmingly reduced fare evasion, which, considering the MTA, the subway system, is in a situation where they're in financial ruin and a bunch of people are just riding for free, that also has a positive effect. But instead of going back to that policy, we're installing all these different various surveillance things that are supposed to be gun detectors that people are going to walk through, and that's going to make sure that nobody could bring weapons in the train, as if guns in the train is the number one issue in the New York City subway. That's not stopping people from pushing people on the subway tracks. And by the way, a bunch of those instances, we ended up finding out, people didn't pay for the subway. They have the National Guard checking old ladies' bags. That is not going to do anything in terms of robbers. A blanket program where you just check everyone is not sufficient to address the problems in the New York City subway. In the same way that you having better surveillance cameras is not sufficient to address this particular problem. If you don't arrest repeat offenders, if you don't arrest offenders, if you can't have any mechanism of punishment, guess what? They're going to realize, and they have realized, that this is more profitable to keep doing. So yeah, they could talk all this nonsense about how, oh, we're saving 125th Street, but in reality, we talked about the different various stores that closed there. They closed there due to theft, and it wasn't because you didn't have a high definition enough footage of the criminals, because many of them got arrested. It was because there were no consequences when they were arrested.
Along 125th Street, businesses big and small are now invited to enroll in the pilot program with the NYPD that the city pays for, connecting a box that looks like a router made by the company Fusus by Axon that gives detectives at the local precinct real-time access to cameras regardless of their setup.
Yeah, so of course the city pays for this program. They end up having this box for a company. I guarantee you that company is connected to Mayor Eric Adams. It's some kind of big financial donor, and this is going to live stream the footage to the NYPD, and this box probably costs thousands of dollars, even though like a Ring video surveillance system costs hundreds of dollars by comparison. So it's a total scam. It's a total fraud. We know that this is a connected company. We know that all of these companies that Eric Adams is signing on with have major problems, but they donated to him. But this is what we're going to get. An additional security state on the taxpayer dime that has no actual consequences for the criminal. That's just going to be there to be annoying, to be intrusive in your day-to-day life, but not actually reduce the crime. Because again, you should just hold those 500 people. Just them. Even if we're not talking about all the different other various retail thieves, that would reduce the NYPD arrest load by a third. And not to mention, I guarantee you, those people are responsible for a bunch of different other instances that they weren't arrested for that you could actually deal with them for. On top of that, I guarantee you that a bunch of those arrests involve multiple instances of theft. So you could probably reduce in real terms by a third to half just by holding the most severe offenders offenders accountable, because this is how crime tends to work. A small subgroup of the criminals commit a disproportionate amount of the crimes, even among that criminal group, just like the general population.
125th Street is actually the second business improvement district to test this out. The head of Flushing's BID says it's been working there for a few months.
Our local precinct was able to catch a perpetrator within 24 hours. And with that case, the shop owners and property owners feel safer.
Are you kidding me? Is this a joke? Is this a parody? Is this some kind of Saturday Night Live sketch going on right now in my ABC local affiliate? This guy just said, look, we have this program in Flushing, Queens, and guess what? We were able to catch one thief within 24 hours of their theft with this real-time surveillance system. Isn't that amazing? And the business owners, they feel so much safer. It's like night and day, because now they can catch one person within a day of them committing the crime with this real-time access to the surveillance feed that gets you in there and has the police right on the fly. That's ridiculous. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my entire life. And the reason why is because if you've been to Flushing Main Street, which is essentially Chinatown with more Chinese people than Chinatown in the city of New York, it also has more Koreans than K-Town, then guess what? The precinct is insanely close right there. It's right on the street. There are police all over the place too. It should be minutes to catch somebody without this live interaction surveillance program. And they're talking about one person being caught in one day. That's what they're hanging their hat on. That's what they're cheering. And he's like, the business owners feel so much safer. Listen, I can Google Flushing, Queens retail theft and find stuff from this week. Video after video after video of people stealing stuff from this location. This program is not working. It is not a success. This is the dumbest thing I ever heard. And the fact that they actually trotted this guy out there, they marched his ass in front of the camera to tell you that they were able to catch one thief within a full day at Flushing Main Street, one of the already most surveillance places in New York City, in Queens for sure, that has police precincts, auxiliary police, and police stationed in and around these areas, is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't know 125th Street that well, to be perfectly honest, but I have a pretty good understanding of Flushing, Queens, and that is not impressive at all.
The capability of business owners to share information with detectives quickly and seamlessly is key. It launches more efficient investigations, builds stronger cases, and leads to more effective prosecutions.
So first of all, again, that 24-hour thing, you should be able to do that with turning over the footage to the police after the fact. But secondly, you're like, oh, more strong cases, more effective prosecutions, but they're not prosecuting them. That's the thing. We just did a story on the New York City District Attorney on how she had to re-arrest somebody that she let out with her conviction integrity unit that she swore up and down was an innocent Angel Aladdin for committing the same crime, murder. So the idea that the prosecutor there is looking to prosecute retail theft when she's letting go of murderers, that's absurd. That's insane. How are you going to put that forward and say, oh, wow, this is so effective. It's so smart. Eric Adams really did a good job giving one of his donors this huge contract for the surveillance system. And oh, the businesses feel safer. Did I tell you? We got that one guy within a full day. We were able to capture him. One man we were able to get. And by the way, that's like the only person that they mentioned was caught due to this program. One person, one human being that they were able to capture. They're like, isn't that amazing? Isn't that impressive? Doesn't that solve the retail theft program? I mean, they let that guy go 10 seconds after they captured him, and he looted 14 other stores that same day, and they also rearrested him and let him go 6 more additional times. But the business owners, they were like, we feel so much safer. We feel so much safer that maybe they were able to make one arrest within 24 hours, allegedly. What a great program. Can't wait to expand this out to everywhere. I mean, it's just let the NYPD look in on everything you do with the business. It's fine.
Shoplifting arrests are actually up 5% over this time last year, as you mentioned, Sandra. But NYPD officials here today say that's actually a sign that more people are getting caught.
So they say shoplifting arrests are up 5%. Again, shoplifting, retail theft was up 77% as of 2022. It's now up 97%. So you just compare those numbers, you crunch them, you do your maths, and you realize that a 5% increase in arrests when you're facing double the amount of shoplifting, 2x the amount of shoplifting, is nothing to write home about. It's nothing to celebrate. This idea that this surveillance program is going to do anything except annoy and be intrusive on average everyday New Yorkers is absurd. But that's the thing. I don't think this is even designed to work. This is designed for puff pieces. This is designed to improve Mayor Eric Adams' standing amongst the public because people know he's not doing a good job despite the fact that he ran tough on crime. But again, to be fair to Eric Adams, a lot of this is down to New York State bail reform. But you know what? I'm going to leave the question off to you guys out there in the audience because I want to know what you think. Do you think this program is effective because it has one arrest during the entirety of the pilot program and it only took one day and they only released that person 57,000 times after his arrest? Just let me know down in the comments below. As usual, if you like the video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about one of the dumbest segments I've ever seen in my life. Till next time.